Welcome to GP Bullhound's Tech Thoughts, a weekly overview of economic developments in international markets. Today is the 8th of July and we are here with Inge Heydorn and Nejla-Selma for our weekly market roundup. Over to Inge.
This week in Tech Thoughts we will focus on 1. A market update, 2. The semiconductor industry and what's going on there, 3. Cloud demand, and 4. Gaming. So let's start with the market update. The market has been a little bit more positive this week. It feels like it's more short covering than real buying, but still positive. And on top of that, I would also like to mention that we have had some, I wouldn't say positive news because it's not above expectations, but stabilizing news. TSMC numbers, UMC numbers, and Samsung numbers for Q2, all being good, really stating that Q2 demand for semiconductors has been healthy. So going over to semiconductors, the big topic this week has been discussion regarding ASML and the proposed embargo of selling DUV tools to China. Remember, this is something that was discussed already in March 2021 when the National Security Commission recommended the US government to block DUV equipment to China. It's slightly surprising the fact that DUV equipment, which is for the low end 7 nanometer and above, already exists in China. There are a number of suppliers, Chinese and foreign suppliers like Samsung, that already has the equipment, and it's not leading edge. So this has been going on as a topic since 2021. So if they would embargo it, it's not due to the fact that it won't stop China from producing complicated chips. It would be more about a trade war and technology war. But with that stated, we don't believe that it will do it. And the second part of that story is that the government in the US has chosen the second path, which is really to targeting companies instead, which are government linked. So like SMIC, Huawei, and so on. We think that will be the way forward also, because just stopping DUV equipment going into China won't change things very much. So that was the thing with ASML and really why it's been hurt quite substantially here in this week's performance. Going over to the demand side and supply side, UMC growing 43%, TSMC growing almost 19%, Samsung's numbers being in line. This really indicates that demand in June is really, really healthy for semiconductor equipment. And we're also seeing 2 big Chinese vendors raising capital this week in order to buy more equipment. Yes, demand will get weaker. There's no doubt about it. We have smartphone demand being weak. We have PC market getting weaker. But the silver lining here is that both of those 2 segments, ASPs are very, very high, which means that the low end is where we have the main part of the weakness, and the high end is holding up decently well for the moment. And that means that the effects on the semi-capital production units are quite limited. But even if we have a slowdown, the capacity utilizations are running at 105%, which is not healthy in the long run. So a slowdown would not be bad at all if it doesn't get too severe. But if we get utilization rates down from the 100 plus rates to a little bit of 90 plus, that would just be healthy for the industry and wouldn't change a lot of things. And as long as the market is falling apart a lot, the build outs that we are expecting, like Samsung, TSMC, Intel with the factory now in Ohio, they bought the land this week. In Texas, the Sherman factory, they started building by Texas Instruments. And same thing with Global Foundries, building the new foundry in Singapore. Those will not be delayed or stopped if things don't just fall off a cliff. Yes, on the commodity side, like On the memory side, we've already seen Micron talking down numbers, but that's a different story because we don't have so much to play around with there. It's a commodity product. All of them are very, very similar, and it's much, much easier to move around volumes than it is in the automotive industry, in the PC industry, and so on. So yes, we expect further weakness in the short run for the memory side. Going over to the cloud side, we have seen a few interesting things happening on the cloud side this week. If we start with a lot of stories around Microsoft struggling with capacity for Azure, which is really good news because that really means that the cloud demand continues to be healthy, which we expect it to be. But a lot of clients are complaining they are not getting capacity they want, and Azure is struggling really to lift the capacity quickly enough to help them with the demand side. And one of the reasons is due to the fact that they've given quite a lot of capacity to Ukraine during the war now. On top of that, we saw FedEx come out stating now moving totally to the cloud with Microsoft. And we also saw a big order for Google Cloud from H&M, moving even more data capabilities up in the cloud. So for us, the cloud demand we expect to continue to be strong, given also the fact that we are in a downturn. A lot of companies can save quite a lot of money due to the fact that they're moving up to the cloud. FedEx is arguing around $400 million a year in savings due to the fact that they're moving all the things to the cloud. Going over to Nejla and gaming.
Alright, so let's do a gaming update. And this week we could start seeing some movements in gaming, I would say. The Quarry, who got released on June 10th, topped the PlayStation 5 charts in the US. One thing I reacted on was that Evil Dead from Embracer did not top the list this month. And this is an important title for them. But it looks like The Quarry, who is in the same category of horror theme, took the first place here. I think that these types of situations is something that we're going to see a lot in the fall, as we have a lot of strong titles that are releasing in the fall during the same period. And for example, this week we saw the news that God of War Ragnarok will launch on November 9th this year, was announced. So I would say it is extra important to really have a strong quality title during that period, as the competition is probably going to be big. And we are also getting closer to the earnings season again, and looking into our Nintendo model, we started to question whether they will keep their guidance for hardware or downgrade it for the next quarter. Sales for Nintendo's Q1, according to our model, came up to 3.5 million units. And we've seen a decrease year on year in April, May, and June, with an average of 17% for each month. But even though we can see a clear decrease and an overall underperforming gaming market, we don't really think that they're going to be that affected by it. So, I mean, they might lower the guidance slightly, but nothing major, I would say. And lastly, I just wanted to give a short update on our Global Technology Fund and how we're doing. Year to date, we're down 20%, and we have changed the percentage in stocks from 90% to 95% now. And you can find more information about the fund on our website, so go to gpbullhound.com. Thank you, and see you next week.